Welcome to Astrology 201, Demystifying Antiscia. If you understand aspects, signs, and houses, this video is great for you. If not, this video will still expose you to a valuable concept. What is an Antiscia? As simply as possible, Antiscia are 2 points that are equally distant from a midpoint. The 2 types of midpoints most commonly used when referring to Antiscia are the solstice lines and the equinox lines. When using the equinox lines, these points are contra Antiscia. The word Scia comes from the Greek word skia, meaning shadow. Antiscia are signs and their degrees at which the sun provides an equal amount of light. These signs and degrees are on the opposite sides of a solstice line. For example, let's take a look at the summer solstice. So what is the summer solstice? The summer solstice is when the axis of Earth is tilted as far forward as it goes, exposing either the northern or southern hemisphere to the most amount of light possible. The word solstice comes from the Latin words sol for sun and sistere to stand still. In tropical astrology, solstice and equinox points are all cardinal. In the northern hemisphere, the vernal equinox occurs when the sun reaches 0 Aries, and the summer solstice occurs afterward at 0 Cancer. The autumnal equinox occurs at 0 Libra, and the winter solstice at 0 Capricorn. So how does the solstice play into Antiscia? On either side of that 0 Cancer degree lies 29 degrees Gemini and 1 degree Cancer. These 2 particular degrees are Antiscia to each other because they are equidistant or equally distant from the degree of the summer solstice. This means that 28 degrees Gemini would form an Antiscia with 2 degrees Cancer. 29 degrees Taurus would be Antiscia with 1 degree Leo, and so on. In these aspects, all signs from Aries through Virgo are considered commanding signs, and Libra through Pisces are considered obeying signs. Commanding signs are the ones imposing energy upon the obeying signs and have the upper hand in whatever aspect is being made. Now that you know what Antiscia are and how they form, let's talk about why they're important in astrology. Antiscia degrees see each other, but do not hear each other. They evoke an immediate response between the 2 celestial bodies or points involved, usually a pleasant, unexpected surprise for reasons that may not be immediately understood. These 2 placements can also check each other, forcing one planet to take the other into consideration, even if the themes and expositions of that planet are very different or foreign to the other body. Remember, Antiscia points have the same amount of daylight as each other, giving each other equal power. According to William Lilly and other astrologers before him, Antiscia aspects are considered secondary but favorable, meaning the primary aspects the planet is experiencing are more important, but the Antiscia should definitely be taken into consideration. At a glance, the 2 signs of Antiscia have little to nothing in common. Gemini, being a Mercury energy, for example, is about logic, verbal communication, and thinking, whereas Cancer is about emotions, unspoken communication, and intuition. Nothing could be more different, right? But together they form 2 sides of a very important equation. As humans, we are logical and emotional. There is no one without the other, at least in a healthy human. So while Antiscia have the distinction of being 2 very different energies, they also have the distinction of making whole the topic at hand. This will be discussed in greater detail in practical applications of Antiscia. Now that we've learned about Antiscia, let's learn about contra Antiscia. Whereas Antiscia occurs across solstice lines, contra Antiscia occurs across equinox lines. Whereas the solstice marks the extremes of the amount of light hours available, the equinox lines mark shifts of balance. The vernal equinox marks the first day of the astrological new year. As it is the first day, the amount of daylight hours exceeds the night hours. The autumnal equinox marks the first day. There are more night hours than day. The solstices are peaks. The equinoxes are starts. Note that just like solstice lines, equinox lines are opposite for the southern hemisphere. To get a degrees contra Antiscia, take the opposite of one of the signs in the Antiscia. So with 29 degrees Gemini, its contra Antiscia would be 1 degree Capricorn instead of 1 degree Cancer. 18 degrees Leo's contra Antiscia would be 12 Scorpio instead of 12 degrees Taurus. Whereas Antiscia are considered favorable about each other on a secondary basis, contra Antiscia are not. Contra Antiscia can hear each other but not see each other. From the perspective of an able-bodied human, hearing things you can't see is more frightening than seeing things you can't hear. Given that they are on the opposite sides of the equinox line, whereas one contrapoint is approaching the summer solstice midpoint, the other is approaching winter. One is gaining daylight while the other loses daylight. William Lilly likens contra Antiscia to malefic aspects, squares and oppositions. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'm gonna be sad.